We're starting new features for our Substack, and in the coming weeks and months, you will hear more from Mariah. We're making some arrangements to make her available so that you can hear from her. Some of you may think she's a mystery or a figment of my imagination. Some of you out there have actually met her, or you've seen her work, or so on. So hang in there. But we're starting new features weekly. We're going to begin to post themes of Mindful Monday. This is the first installment of Mindful Mondays. And I know there are Mindful Mondays out there all over the internet, and that's okay. It's great. Folks are learning skills for learning how to regulate their attention. We're all about it. We couldn't come up with a better name. So we're going to use that for a while. We don't think we're doing any kind of copyright infringement or anything like that. We're just going to use Mondays as a theme to reflect on, what is mindfulness? How is it that we can apply or practice that in our week to week? And for this Substack, we're specifically going to look at it for ADHD. So giving some just general instruction about and insight about what that looks like as it's been articulated in Marsha Linehan's work on dialectical behavior therapy, some of our modifications. Over time you'll be getting this. And then we will supplement that with, and this will start next week, we'll have the Mindful Monday and just kind of what is it? What does it look like in action for a regular person? And we're also going to add in some basically mindfulness exercises that will be available for our paid subscribers. So those will be there every now and then. We'll just sort of treat out for our free subscribers as well. But we're also wanting to give more value to our subscribers and our followers. So whether you're free or paid, or you're just following out of curiosity, maybe you're not yet a subscriber, we still want to make this a place where folks can land and get some value from their visit here and give new content, and it helps keep us sharp and fresh and excited about what we're doing with DBT and our work with ADHD adults. So we will have, going forward, Mindful Mondays. We will have Wise Mind Wednesdays. I think those are out there somewhere too. So we're not doing anything terribly revolutionary. These are just ways to bookmark us, our time, so we can leverage that. And again, giving you, our subscribers and followers, something new every week for as long as we can possibly sustain that. So that's our goal, to do that. So again, Monday, Mindful Mondays, Wise Mind Wednesdays, and then Fridays. This will be the fun one. It'll be Free Range Fridays. We don't know what we're going to do. We're going to free range it. Things that we may encourage ADHD adults not to do so much, to be so free range, but it'll be kind of a wild card day where we maybe look at something related to research or something going on in the culture about ADHD and so on. So stay tuned for those, look for those, give us some feedback, send us an email, message, leave a comment, let us know how this is working for you as we begin to put out that content. And then also we're going to put this out in conjunction also with our forthcoming workbook, the DBT Skills Workbook for ADHD Adults, pending release in October, coming up. Just a few more months. It'll be released. You can pre-order now on Amazon. You may be able to pre-order also through your favorite brick and mortar stores. And of course, we always encourage you to go to your local booksellers and buy that in person if that's available to you, or you have a preferred store. Ours here, which happens to be 8 Day Books, and then that's followed by Watermark Books and Cafe, and there's some other great places here in town that we think are just pretty fabulous, but it'll be available online. So we are going to, tie in some of this content here with what you would find in the workbook. And that workbook will be suitable for, of course, a person doing a self-guided study. If you're an adult with ADHD, it's built to help you work through learning about ADHD and the neurobiology of ADHD, but also learning how to adapt and apply DBT skills, has worksheets, questionnaires, that kind of thing, vignettes, some of our own personal stories from Mariah and myself, because we are ADHD adults as well as treatment providers. So we're coming at that too from that lived experience, as well as what we can glean from the wonderful research that so many research scientists are doing, and also the work we do clinically and looking at what others are discovering about ADHD clinically, and trying to give you the best that we can give you, something both scientifically informed and profoundly human. That may be a dialectic. And by the way, I'm drinking from the mug given to me by my friend Daniel Seitz, friend of mindfulness, friend of mine for years, my best buddy here in Wichita. Daniel, if you see this video, this one goes out to you, my friend. Thank you for this beautiful mug. Nice feel, beautiful mug. What a gift from my good friend Daniel. Okay. So just starting today and kind of getting on with things here a little bit, I want to give you a little bit of an overview of what is mindfulness. And so going to utilize some standard DBT materials as a way to shape my thoughts in a particular direction for your sake, and also add in bits of thoughts that may be unique to me, not because I'm so innovative, but particular kind of spin on it. I just say that too, to just make sure you don't think I'm representing anyone in particular. And by the way, that reminds me, the legal mumbo jumbo we have to put out there, of course, is that this video is intended strictly for educational purposes and is not intended to replace mental health or medical assessment and or treatment. So if you need treatment, please reach out to your local community looking for those resources, but we're here to provide extra education, hopefully some encouragement around this. So anyway, but mindfulness, what is it? I'm going to say that it is the most famous quote of all that I think, anyway, the most familiar to those of us who are often reading about mindfulness practice and so on, comes from Jon Kabat-Zinn, who defined mindfulness as the practice of paying attention in a particular kind of way in the moment. And so it is in part about certainly paying attention, being awake, being alert, doing those things on purpose. And, per DBT, mindfulness is intentionally living with awareness in the present moment, being in your own skin, be where you are. We can say mindfulness is the practice of being where you are. So I will say this because it's something that it's kind of a phrase that Mariah and I use. You'll see it in the workbook. Mindfulness is not a head thing. It's not something we just do in the brain. It is a head, shoulders, knees, and toes practice, even a way of life, if you wanted to adopt it. And it can be customized, although it is based on principles of attentional regulation, which spans all kinds of traditions, all kinds of histories, cultures, and peoples, and so on. But keeping this to boil it down, again, mindfulness is intentionally living with awareness in the present moment. It's waking up from automatic thinking, not just being rote, not just going through the motions, but being there with what's happening. You'll find later that when we break down the what and hows in the way that DBT has organized some real basic mindfulness practices in a very helpful way, participation is super important. That's why, again, we say it is a head, shoulders, knees, and toes. Practice whole person, whole body. Again, practice. It's practicing living intentionally with awareness without judging or reacting to the present moment. I'm sorry, without judging or rejecting the present moment. So we can pay attention to the consequences of particular actions or the actions of others, how we are affected by our environment and what others are doing, as well as being aware of how are we affecting others and how do we influence and affect our environment. We can discern helpfulness. We can discern what harms us, what gets in the way of our living life according to what we truly value, or even knowing what we value, and living in accordance with reality and principles and so on. And this will come through letting go of kind of reactive evaluations, giving up avoiding, or what we like to say DBT, avoiding. We can do this without suppressing or blocking the present moment. So not fighting the present moment, not having, not getting caught up in believing our reactive judgments about a given moment. Mindfulness is also about living intentionally with awareness in the present moment without attachment to the present moment. And this just means attending to an experience of whatever's happening in a given moment without pushing it away, without holding on to, without coddling it or magnifying it, but just simply noticing it like you would clouds in the sky. We've had, we're in Kansas, and as of this recording, it is June 8th, 2026, and we're in that season of big weather changes. We're getting the southern weather fronts meeting the northern weather fronts, which means for us a lot of thunderstorms, a lot of rain, a lot of precipitation, and but then it'll be sunny, and then it's cloudy. And then we have huge cumulus nimbus clouds and so on, and then we have little puffy clouds just sort of dancing about. It's always changing, and I like watching clouds, but I can't count on them being there forever. Although I have taken some pictures of those clouds because they fascinate me and they're kind of cool. So, what are mindfulness skills? Well, these are skills. These are the specific behaviors that we would all need to put it into practice. And that when we put them all together, this will make up what we will call mindfulness. And I will say, overall, I think of mindfulness as a gigantic umbrella underneath which we can find all kinds of practices which are intended for increasing our ability to pay attention in the present moment, to inhabit ourselves, if you will, and, to live, I don't know, not just authentically, but to live intentionally, to make choices. To make choices again when we realize we've made choices we didn't really want to make, or we are assessing that the consequences of those choices aren't taking us where we want to go. So that could be everything from exercise, could be prayer, could be actual meditation, so on. And so, not endorsing any of those in particular at the moment for anybody, but these are just things, practices that help a human being slow things down a little bit, to step out of kind of, if you will, cognitive and emotional chaos, to kind of find just a quiet space in a given moment. We'll get into all that eventually. So, what's mindfulness practice? Well, this is where we take mindfulness and the skills and we put skin on it, or we walk them around. This is what I do when I'm doing skills training group. Like, this is us putting it in action. This is embodiment. Okay, since we're on a video, just give you a little action. But mindfulness skills, it can be practiced anytime, anywhere, while you're doing anything. This is a really great thing about mindfulness practices. You do not need any special equipment. You don't need a jetpack. You don't need scuba gear. You don't need skis. You just need to be willing to pay attention and to practice, really. Because you have your awareness, whatever level that is. You have your willingness to try it out, and maybe a willingness to also let go of some of your own reactive judgments that may get in the way of you practicing on a regular basis, because we do that sometimes. I'll get to some of those things later. Meditation is practicing mindfulness and mindful skills while sitting, standing, or lying quietly. Okay. Now, when we're meditating, we tend to focus the mind or the attention maybe on breath. Maybe we're doing a body scan. Maybe we're just practicing simply, maybe it's just paying attention to the sensation of our body being held by a chair, or noticing the pressure of our feet as we stand, right? We'll get into why that would be important. And to be fair to everybody, okay, if you have thoughts like, well, that's weird and sounds like a waste of time. Lots of people have those thoughts. And nobody's going to make you do this. You don't have to do this. Just strongly recommending it. And thanks for coming along for the ride to learn about it. And when meditating, we also open the mind and we pay attention to whatever's coming into our awareness. We can practice simply watching our thoughts. Do we know what our thoughts are as they come and they go? Can we name them in just a factual way without being attached to them? And also seeing that we don't have to believe every thought we have, and being able to identify, maybe a reactive judgment or assessment we have about ourselves or others. Maybe it's a distancing kind of thing too, like, oh, if only things would go my way, things would be better or different, so on, or so-and-so is a jerk, I'm dumb, and so on. But being able to see those things, meditation practices can help us facilitate mindfulness, help us strengthen mindfulness skills. They are different things, by the way. Mindfulness is mindfulness. Mindfulness is paying attention. You don't have to meditate. It's something that we talk about quite a bit in DBT circles. You don't have to practice meditation. If it's something that you're open to, you may find beneficial, then I certainly commend it to those for who it would be safe. Okay, and we'll talk about that too, and just talk about who under what circumstances might meditation be contraindicated for folks. Okay, we'll get to that later. And there are many forms of meditation. They differ mostly by whether we're opening our awareness or we're focusing the awareness. Like if we're focusing on the breath, I'm simply paying attention to breath because I'm practicing the narrowing of attention to a specific task, training my attention. So every time my attention begins to go to, ooh, yeah, I wonder if Walking Dead is available on my streaming service. Or, I wonder, it's Tuesday. I wonder if my local taco shop does Taco Tuesday sales or something. Whatever it might be. I'm no longer paying attention to breath. I'm out here drifting about. So you notice that. And on the next in-breath, you bring your attention back to simply breathing, simply being aware of the breathing. And so for short periods of time, practicing not letting your thoughts just meander all over the place. Yeah. And this is valuable for ADHD adults. Along the way, stick around because over the next few weeks, we'll also get into what's the evidence for why that would be helpful for folks with ADHD. Okay. When we open our awareness to this, can allow us, it's like when we go out maybe to a park by ourselves or with a friend or family, we put a blanket out, maybe we're near a body of water, maybe it's a lake or a pond. We're just taking in the sunshine and the clouds are passing over. Maybe we see some daffodils blowing around in the air, whatever, geese on the water, ducks in the water, birds flying overhead, the laughter of children playing. You're just kind of taking it all in. You're not specifically focusing on any one of those phenomena, but you're just there, and there's time and place for that. So you get to choose that. And there are practices like contemplative prayer and, in DBT, the manuals reference that there are practices in Christian circles. So, for instance, there's a practice called centering prayer. The rosary, this would be more familiar to Roman Catholic folks. There is also in the Eastern Orthodox Church, there are several practices. And by the way, we're not reducing all of these practices into like an equivocated kind of thing, like they're all exactly the same. So, because I think we have to be very careful about that. And with all due respect to folks that practice these different faiths, you want to treat it with the seriousness I think that all of this deserves. Maybe it's yoga for somebody. Maybe it is the Jewish Shema. Maybe it's some form of, for somebody who is a practicing Muslim, different kinds of prayer. Perhaps somebody who's a little bit more leaning toward Sufism in their mystical practices, maybe. And there's also mindfulness movement. And this can come in, like I said, exercise, could be done through martial arts, could be Tai Chi, Aikido, so on. But you can also go hiking, horseback riding, walking, and being just present with what's happening. What's your body doing? And letting your brain kind of have a break from all the jazz and busyness of particularly this electronic world that we're living in now. So we're almost at 20 minutes in this video here, so I'm just going to bring it to a close. That's just a real brief intro to what we'll be doing thematically in the coming weeks. Welcome to the first installment of Mindful Monday. We're going to come back, and I'm going to give you more of a breakdown on the what and hows of DBT skills, of mindfulness, how you do it, and then we'll also be adding in supplemental content for how do you do it. So we'll have some guided practices to kind of help you learn a little bit more about it. So, hey, thanks so much for watching. I hope you'll find this useful and look for more, okay? Be mindful out there. I hope that you're loved and well fed.